Hey Cottonwood Valley followers, it's a very windy May 17th Sunday afternoon out here at the farm. I will say it, I'm about a week behind I think so far out here. We got all the plastic laid way out there in the field. About a week ago, got a good rain on it, so it's real tight in there except for one spot we had to relay earlier in the week. But kind of late here in the afternoon. It's been a very, very busy week, both with the family, into school year time, with the work, so a lot going on. But my goal today is to get all the irrigation in place in the field and get everything so that we can plant. I do not think we will plant today. You'll hear it in the video. The wind is awful out here. They're predicting potentially some severe weather tonight. For sure tomorrow, a really, really elevated risk of severe weather. So we're kind of in this place of, what do? Do you put the plants out and hope nothing happens? Do I protect them at home where I can throw them in the greenhouse if I need to real quick? That's kind of the side I'm leaning on. The fear is it rains 3 inches with these storms coming through, and it's a week before you can get in the field with the transplanter. Speaking of the transplanter, got it here. Surprise, gonna pull it with a different tractor, at least try to this year. This is Dad's, new to him, John Deere 3020. Been a lot of fun getting that to work. But Dad also went up with Mom to another town and picked up a different size water wheel for us. So these are a 24-inch. Last year we planted on a 26-inch. And on our planting video, I can get into that, but that offers us a little bit different spacing options that I think will be helpful, especially with like the squash and the yellow squash, zucchinis and stuff. So anyways, that's going on. But first things first, I'm gonna get this water tender that's hooked up behind my Farm All M here, about 275 gallons of water there. It's got my pump on it that I used to irrigate all last year. Gonna throw in about a pound of 20-20-20 fertilizer and take it back to the onions and let it pump water there while I get started on everything else I need to for the irrigation system today. So stay tuned and follow along. If I remember right, I was having a problem with the pump here, and this is prime, so it's gonna start leaking. But this fitting here, this is just a garden hose thread. I'm wondering if the washer, the rubber gasket in there, one of these is bad. So I brought a new one with me to see, but water's gonna go everywhere and I'm probably gonna get wet to start the day. Well, it would go bad or has gone bad, but I don't see one in there. So we're gonna say that is part of the problem here. I put this filter on the other day after we initially planted the onions because I didn't have a water filter on it, and you get some algae and stuff build up in these tanks, and I just absolutely hate to plug up the drip tape and have to flush it and go through that process for like an $8 filter fix. So ordered one of those and got it here. Okay, well, I expected that to go much worse. See how much gas we can spill in this thing. In this howling wind. That'll be more than enough for this part of the project. This is just some cheap 20-20-20 I bought for the greenhouse. Definitely not the brand I'd recommend or use in the future. So just trying to use it up in some kind of non-critical places like this. It wasn't too bad for home use for like watering cans and that stuff, but definitely what I don't want to use out here in bulk, but just mixing it in a few gallons of water before I dump it in the tank. And then dump this whole thing up into this 250, 270 gallon tank. I guess there's the 250 gallon mark, but take that out, pump it into the onions and go from there. Okay, driving out here, this is what I consider our old garden spot. Growing up, this is where Grandpa always had his garden out here. Way back before my time, it was always the feedlot for the hogs they had, is my understanding with it. But taking the M back here, we don't really have water lines run out here anymore. Back in the day they did, but kind of been abandoned. So this is the easiest way to get it to the row of onions. We've got 4 rows, I think about 1,800 onions total planted. You'll see them here in just a second. We use the plastic mulch method. I rototilled down the middles and Used a little bit of herbicide treatment along the row edges, not on the onions themselves, but along the row edges, what sits above those, that flap of plastic that gets tucked under the ground. That becomes a perfectly warm and inviting place for weeds to grow. So you'll see here in just a second as we come up to it what the spot looks like, and pretty proud of how clean it looks out there in the field right now. Okay, and here's what the field looks like. Like I said, really nice and clean along through here along the edges. I was surprised at how fast weeds grew up through the holes, so I need to get out here one of these evenings and pull out the Johnson grass that grows so badly. As you can see, the Johnson grass out here in the field. And had I not rototilled, had I not done a little bit of spray treatment along the row edges, this is what it would all look like. So anyways, the 4 rows of onions here planted back mid-April on it. Took me a while because we had a really muddy April there, but all plumbed in with 1-inch header line here into drip tapes, customizable. We can turn off any of the 4 rows, push it anywhere we want. Just a main valve here. So let me get the pump going and we'll get started from there. Really happy. Bought this pump last year as we were getting started from Harbor Freight. It's worked really well. Just their 1-inch 79cc pump. I have a garden hose adapter here on the 1-inch, but teeing off so that way I can bypass a little bit of the water coming out of it and send it back up to the tank and run it from there. So that way we're not putting out full pressure because we need about 15 psi out at the field. So then all I had to do, take one of these garden hoses, tie it in here. I'm gonna open this valve up, open the valve up here on the pump, run into it, went right through it. We'll see the pressure gauge start jumping around a little as it starts to inflate. You can see the hoses here inflating about 5 psi right now. As you can hear in the background, really idled the pump way back down, turned about half the valve off up here, and we're running about 15-20 psi. One thing you're gonna notice me talk about with irrigation today is managing pressures, because that is everything to do with drip irrigation. So I'm gonna set a timer on my phone, come back out here in about 40 minutes, otherwise I'll lose track of this. It should take about an hour to pump down, but I'm gonna go back and get some other irrigation stuff started. So anyways, that's pumping. It's got fertilizer mixed up in that tank. So back to the van and the barn we go to get stuff ready. Okay, as I'm walking back to the van, I think it's worth noting that we really changed the way the field lays out this year, turned it 90 degrees. So we have less overall rows, but we have more long rows. But with that said, all of those headlines I made for irrigation last year had to be redone. So changing the system up a little bit. The biggest difference is we're gonna keep the tank and the fertigation stuff up here by the well as much as we can, just like last year, but we're gonna run an 1.5-inch lay flat hose the length of the field out there and get it up to the top of the field and then push it south. And then along that south line, we'll go back to the 1-inch plastic, I think they call it orchard tube heading. We'll pierce that with all of the drip tape valves and those pieces on it and go from there. So I got to get all those made. That lay flat's made with quick couplers, I believe, or cam lock couplers there. I don't want to get my broadcast terms and my hose terms confused, but anyways, gonna have those, and that's just a blue lay flat that'll run from here all the way out along the edge of the field. So I'm gonna get stuff unloaded out of the back of the van, maybe come up here to the water wheel and use that as a table and get started. So this right here is what I kind of have mocked up to go up at the top end of the field. Lay flat will run all the length of the field down to this. Couple into here. I got a valve control for the top of the field. It's gonna tee off. This one tee is gonna go to a flow regulator, a pressure regulator that we use to keep from blowing up the drip tape. The other side, I've just got this 1/4-inch valve on it, hose valve, in case I need to take a test of the fertilizer mixture, or I just need some water in a garden hose up there. I've got it there. The other key thing for it is it gives me a place to do some air relief as the system pressurizes. But I'm also gonna drill and tap right here in this fitting, and I'm gonna put a pressure valve on it there so I can measure what the pressure is at the top end of the field. Okay, just about 30 minutes later, I've got it built. Quick connect right here, the cam lock fitting comes into it, a valve to control it at the top end of the field, the pressure gauge I told you about. I used a 1/4-inch MPT tap and my 3/8 drill into the PVC to make that work. Out one side I have just the boiler valve right here, just a cheap brass valve to bleed off anything I need to do. Then going out 1-inch adapter here to my flow pressure regulator. This is a 15 PSI at 12 to 20 gallon per minute. And then to the 1-inch nipple there where the black orchard tubing will go. But like I said, it's been about 30 minutes, so it's time to go back out and check out on the irrigation of the onions. So one thing I have to say is that took about 30 minutes to do, but it took 3 or 4 hours of sitting with the catalog of parts and fittings from, I believe that stuff came from Mulch. I ordered from Mulch and I ordered from Rainflow both for different produce supplies. By far the cheapest place to get those type of fittings. But you know, you're ordering, you're paying freight, so you want to make sure you get them all because you also don't want to wait a week for $1, $2 fitting to show up. So a lot of time just sitting at the catalog there, figuring those out, but headed back here to check on that irrigation. And back out here at the onions, we're about halfway through in 30 minutes, down to the 125 gallon mark it looks like. 125 gallons of it coming through the pump here. Going back out and sitting about, between 15 and 20 PSI, running out through the field. So let's see if there's a spot where I can see the drip so that way I can show you that it's actually putting it out. Well, right down here you can see it's damp in there. Means it's putting the fertilizer and the water out to them. It has been incredibly dry here since the night we laid plastic. So that's been about 10 to 15 days from now. I can't really remember off the top of my head. I have to go back and look at photos and notes, but we're not in the drought. Most of western Kansas is. Actually, far southwest Kansas has some really bad fires right now. They're trying to get under control for a couple days, which is very uncommon in my mind for Kansas to have multi-day wildfires. It's one thing to have them get out and be a long night, be a long 24 hours, but they're going on multiple days of them out there. I think I got all the fittings sorted out here. So the top of the field manifold right here, cam lock, valve, bleeder valve, pressure regulator, pressure gauge. This is the fertilizer injector where everything comes in. So well water coming from the pump comes in here. This is a 1-inch filter, backflow preventer. That is the fertigation unit, the Mozzie injector there, so that'll suck up the fertilizer water for fertilizing. Then you come down here, and this is the piece I built now, because last year for some reason I had the filter on the back end of the fertilizer injector, but really I want the water filtered before it clogs the injector, so that doesn't really make sense, but that's what happens when I was probably out here in the heat trying to get it going to pump water immediately to plants. So anyways, got that sorted out. But then I've got a 1-inch to 1/2-inch fitting here, 1.5-inch ball valve, and then a cam lock coming off this that'll run out to the field. Why do I have a valve here, you ask? I do not need a valve there, but the valve was like $2. The actual female-female coupling there to make that work was like $6, so I put a valve there. The nice thing that you can do with that is when you shut water off, one, you can keep it clean there if you disconnect the hose just by shutting the valve, keep anything from going in backwards into it. But also, we are pushing about 2 feet uphill and 1.5 inches of water in a 300-foot hose. It is some decent back pressure, so if you shut that off there, you don't have to worry about it pushing it back through the injector. So anyways, we should be just about out of water up there at the onions. What I'm gonna do is go get it, bring the tractor back here, fill it up with at least half the tank full of water, go back out there, pump through it just so we don't have fertilizer sitting in those lines, or if we do, it's really, really diluted fertilizer water. So I'm gonna go bring the M back here with the water tank and go from there. Still putting out the pressure, I'd say that's about as low as we can get this tank down. So I'm gonna shut the pump off here, shut the valve so nothing goes back in. And I think it's time to take the tractor, go get some more water, and pump back out here. One thing I'm gonna look for, here's some nice deer holes in this, but it's still very, very dry. Back in here, the drip tape must be right down this line. I can get a little moisture, but I'm gonna go get another 250 gallons and pump on these things. Who knows, by doing this, I'll probably make it rain tonight and tomorrow, but considering the onions are all I have planted so far this year, and a tiny bit of sweet corn over there, might as well give them a good drink. Got another 250 plus gallons of fresh water. Gonna get the pump going again. Got my bypass open, going back in the tank for the pressure. Got this one hooked up there. So we'll just see how it goes from here. Got the pressure going. Pressure's gonna slowly come up as it energizes there. Pump dialed in. Back up to the top I'm gonna go. Yeah, I think those were way drier than I thought, those onions, so gonna let it go for another 40 minutes or so of water. So now what's promising to be the least enjoyable part of the day is rolling out this 300 foot of 1.5 inch lay flat here, just to get an idea of where we're going down there. Actually, you might see it in the background. Dad's coming through on the tractor. Oh my gosh, it's windy. The wind is howling. I want to wear my straw hat, but you couldn't keep it on, and the sun is, it's a warm May day, but we're gonna go right about where the tractor is down there. The manifold's gonna exist right here on row 1. See if I can get things laid out to get rolling the right way. Roll's 300 feet long. These rows are 200 feet long. Move into the lay flat just so it's a little more flexible this year if we need to move it and get it out of the way, and hopefully reuse it for a longer time. You can see this transition right here. We relayed this plastic. It hasn't been rained on, so there's enough wind coming through the dirt that's making it lift. So we'd really love some moisture on this just to get it to settle and be tight on the ground before we have to relay it a third time. This will be the more interesting part, getting it through this grass and kind of seeing where it lands over here. Okay, just because we're gonna hook this manifold on it right now, just keep anything from getting in either of them while it's sitting out here. Just like that, the valve's shut, and it's gonna live right about there. Just a little bit later out here, the wind is still howling, the sun is still shining, but got the T, the manifold up here hooked up, so 1.5 inch lay flat, cam locks there, coming up to this T watch me build earlier, running out this 1 inch orchard tube will run all along the edge of the field there. That's what each individual drip tape will tie into, but now I'm going down to the head end, and we're gonna pump some water back through the system and see how it works. Now here at the head end, you've seen me use this trailer all day long. Here it is again. Tank, we'll use this as a tender pumping from the well house over there, keeping that tank full. 1 inch pump will run here into our fertilizer injector, cam lock right here out to the field. From there, it'll go out there to where you see Dad, all the way where we just came from, 300 feet up that direction. In the system for a little bit, it actually took about 25 gallons to get everything full, but coming in here, sitting about 30 pounds, everything shut off. Obviously there's no drip tape connected. I got to change clamps. These are the ones the catalog said it should come with, but they're too big. They're maxed out, you know, on the tightness, but 30 pounds in the line makes that pretty hard. I think this lay flat can handle like 80 PSI, but running along through here, all the way up to where you see Dad in the truck. Up here at the other end, you see, yeah, touch below like 25 PSI on it. Obviously the pump shut off on the other end, but we've still got plenty of pressure. Plenty of pressure on the system. I now get to come in here, clean up, plumb in the top 16 rows up here in the field, but that's probably a project for tomorrow. I'm tired. It's just about 7 p.m. out here and time to get home and see the girls for a little bit. That's about 5 hours out here in this heat and wind this afternoon. I think it's time to call it a day. So thank you to everybody that's been following along. Next video, we'll probably be planting. Hopefully we're planting out here depending on what the weather does tonight, Sunday night, Monday night, and go from there. Thanks for watching.